So to get into the spirit of reviewing Paul, I decided that I'd make a space shuttle in ceramics class. While I think it's a space shuttle, of course my off-the-wall friends have to call it a... well, you get the point.
I don't care about nothing. I don't care at all. Put my soul in the rope from the ceiling, nail my heart to the floor. I don't care about nothing. I don't care at all. If I live, if I die, if I'm nothing, I don't care anymore. I don't care.
Paul centers on two Britain comic geeks played by Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, who I adore from the film Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, two of the best comedies I have ever seen in the past decade. They are visiting America for the first time as attempted. They go to Comic-Con San Diego, which is where I'll be going to this year, of course. But once they leave, they decide to go on an extraterrestrial spot, tourist road trip thing. You get the point, again. They decide to hit all these alien hotspots in an RV by going on a road trip across the southwest areas of the United States. But that's until a car crash happens ahead of them, and out of the wreckage comes the weed-smoking, very off-the-wall alien named Paul, who's voiced by Seth Rogen. Paul ends up revealing that he's on the run from the government and they want to take him back, so he ends up being taken by the two geeks, and they go on a road trip with government agents on their trail in order to bring Paul back to his land. But Paul wants to escape with his other alien friends because they're coming back with a spaceship to rescue him. Now, I will admit another thing besides that I am a big fan of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I am a huge geek, and it might not look like I am, but I really am a huge geek. I will reveal that in later things if I haven't shown you already, but I own a bunch of comic books. I always look up stuff revolving around comic books. I pay a lot of attention to sci-fi stuff, and this movie's got chock full of it. This movie is very funny, but nowhere as funny as Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz was. Out of the three collaborations now that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost have done with each other on feature films, this one is the weakest. There are parts which the film just feels kind of disjointed, like there are times which it doesn't really know what it wants to be. It's hinted at first that it kind of wants to be a bromance film between Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, but then when Paul shows up, the film doesn't really know where it wants to go, in which it will switch in between bromance between the two, and then with the alien and one of them, then Kristen Wiig comes along and it kind of switches up between them. Then it starts turning into an action film at some points. Like, it just feels kind of all over the place in some scenes. Like, it seems that the director just doesn't quite know what direction to take this film in completely because it jumps around in so many scenes. Don't get too iffy with what I just said because that was just my only really small complaint with the film, but let's get on with the good. Now, I can highly respect Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, who also wrote the script for this film, for poking fun at a whole bunch of sci-fi films and TV shows. Like, I'll just run down a list right now of all the films and TV shows that you must need to know of in order to understand all the references, so I'll just put them all down right here. If you know at least 5 of the stuff on that list, then you're definitely gonna know all the stuff that they poke fun at in this film. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost do a great job together as usual, as they always have that hinted bromance between each other, except not as much in this film compared to Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, of course. Kristen Wiig does surprisingly good as this religious-heavy woman who ends up being accompanied on their field trip across the Southwest to help Paul escape. Jason Bateman also does a very good Agent Mark Mulder impression at playing Agent Lorenzo Zoil, I think. Yeah, that's right, Lorenzo Zoil, as he's trying to get Paul back. Joe Truglio and Bill Hader, I thought, were kind of underused of their full comedy potential. Like, those two were pretty funny in some scenes, just I've seen them funnier in other stuff. And Jane Lynch also turns up in a short role. Once again, not a lot to work with, but she does alright with the stuff she's given. But Seth Rogen is awesome as Paul. I mean, it's basically him playing himself, cussing, smoking pot, doing a lot of inappropriate things, of course. I'm fine with that, though. I know a lot of people get sick of this guy real easily, but I really thought that he was the best part of this film. Like, once Paul shows up, that's where the movie just really takes off. There are some parts which it's very well directed by Greg Mottola, who also directed Superbad and worked with several of the other actors who were in this film, being Bill Hader, Joe Truglio, and Seth Rogen. He worked with them in Superbad, of course. He does a good job shooting the film. I think there's a lot of great wide shots in it, and it's well edited in some scenes, just once again, I just feel like there's some scenes in which he just doesn't really know the full direction to take this film, because it always switches between a romance to bromance to an action film to paying homages to Steven Spielberg's work and all that stuff. It needs to feel a little bit more cohesive on one subject, and then the film would be fine just like that. But despite the flaws, Paul is a very entertaining film. Not as great as Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz, of course, but still, if you're a sci-fi geek like I am, or even a comic book geek, you're gonna love this film. I'm gonna give Paul a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a satisfying time. So that's my review of Paul, and this is your first time visiting my channel, hit that subscribe button above me. And also, please subscribe to Tom Veliotis. He just restarted a new channel. He was formerly known for the Killer Camera channel, but it was hacked. Damn you, you hacker. Anyway, thanks for watching my review. In the meantime, I'm Tyler from Cali Critic Reviews. Subscribe to The Unknown Underdogs, where this review can also be seen, and I'll see you guys later.